Hi there, welcome to today's episode of Activating Magic. I'm your host, Darla Ledoux, and today's conversation is called Selling the Shift. And I want to talk a little bit about, can we sell transformation? And this is inspired by a few things. The first is I just am wrapping up teaching a class in my retreat alchemy system and cohort, helping retreat leaders to sell transformation, to invite people to come on retreat with them and shift their energy field and totally change their life. And we're just wrapping up, and I want to share a couple of highlights. And then the second reason is I was talking with a friend, and one of the things I've felt called to recently is I just see myself with more frequent in-person touch points with people. And that's, friends and colleagues and also clients. And as I see this, I have been curious. I wonder if I had one days, how those would go. So random, if you're watching this and you have been in a room with me before and you thought, I would love to come on a one day with you, shoot me a message on Instagram and let me know, because that's research. But as I was thinking about this, I was chatting with a friend about it, mainly about if she knows of a location, specifically in Denver. I live up in the mountains in Colorado. It's a little bit of a pilgrimage to come here. It's for a longer retreat, but getting in and out of Denver is pretty easy. So I was talking with her about this idea, and she, I had like kind of two ways I could go about it. We could have content production days, or we could have shift your energy days. And she kind of said, well, the content is obviously going to be better. And to me, that doesn't feel obvious. In fact, it does in some ways, like, yes, I'm going to go get something done. Like our rational brain can wrap itself around, I'm going to go get something done. And also, I know if someone gets in a room with me to get something done, they're going to have an energy shift. So, for me, it's all energy. But when she said that, I kind of, a younger version of me would have worried about that. But I know people buy the shift. In my world, people buy the shift all day long. So I want to speak to that, because it's really a prevalent thought process out there that you can't sell transformation. You have to sell them what they want and give them what they need. Now, for me and my human design, and like when I'm emanating my most authentic self, I am both magical and practical. Like in my life theme in human design, it talks about making the sublime practical. And so I'm not in any way saying one is better than the other, because I embody both as part of who I am. And this predominant belief about not being able to sell transformation, it is just like tired. It is just tired, okay? I have paid so much money for transformation, and I honestly don't pay that much for information or even getting stuff done, unless it's wrapped in transformation. If it's like, come get this done and you'll transform in front of the camera, I'm all in. But if it's like, let's knock out a bunch of content, no, I'd rather do that on my own, right? So all that is to say, we can sell transformation. And I work with people on both sides of this camp. I have clients equally who are very practical, and they come to me to trust their magic. And I have clients who are very magical, and they come to me for help to make it practical. Like, that is what I do all day long, okay? And so people generally are in two camps. One camp is like my friend, who believe because we've been conditioned to believe, and there's a grain of truth in it, and it used to be more true, but who believe people won't buy that. People won't buy transformation. You have to hide it. You have to sneak it in the back door. And I think that that is becoming less and less true. And like we want to hold on to it, right? Especially people who have mastered that game want to hold on to, like, that's true. And then the other camp is, I was trying to think of how to label this, but it's something like, I have no idea what people will buy. I'm just going to talk about all of the things I want to talk about, right? So they're all in the magic, but people can't receive the magic because they're almost like unwilling to structure it, to help make it tangible for someone. Some of that is trauma response, like I don't want to claim an outcome that I'm not sure I can deliver, or I don't want to leave anyone out, right? Those are trauma response reasons that people don't get clear. But, you know, when we're all in the magic with no structure, by the way, retreats create structure, that, like, people can't receive the magic, okay? On the other hand, when people are so in the structure, like I have to sell this practical thing and I have to deliver all these practical things that I know people want, even though I hate delivering them and they totally don't resonate with how I'm designed to be, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then the structure kills the magic, right? The need to fit within some framework that's pre-existing will kill the magic. And we want to be able to speak to the outcome and claim the outcome and help people understand how transformation will get them the outcome. Like, we need to be confident in that. And we don't want to pretend like people won't buy transformation, because then we're creating that world and we're continuing to create that world. And the world I want to live in is a world where we value our energy. And how do we value our energy? We pay for things we value, right? Now, obviously, you know, having aligned energy is a skill that we learn, and we, you know, it's not something that we buy and consume like a product. It's like we get it and it's with us forever. But we should buy transformation. I buy transformation. When something's feeling sticky, I know I need an energy shift. I don't need more information. So I know, like deep down cellular knowing, that the people that come to me are coming to me for the shift. Now, part of it is because I talk about it, right? I have sold them on the shift, but that's what people are coming to me for. They know that how I design an experience, it will help them lift the layer of conditioning that is keeping them from having direct access to their soul's expression, to their sourced knowing. And people in my world know that. And they know, hey, I think I need to come get in a room with you, right? Like that's kind of the thought process. But guess what? They didn't walk around thinking, I need to go get in the room with Darla. And a lot of them didn't walk around thinking, I need to get in a room with anyone, or I need to shift my energy. So how did they discover that? That's what I want to talk about. So how they discover it, they experience it, right? We don't know that's what we need until we've experienced it. And then when we've experienced it, and the more we've experienced transformation, the more we can tell, oh, this is a structural problem, this is a logical solution, versus this is energetic, and I'm not prepared to do this alone, right? So how do we help them experience it if they haven't experienced it, to know that that's what they need? So the first thing is you can invite them to experience it with you. So rather than a webinar, the way that we're taught to do a webinar, you might create a mini retreat, a virtual mini retreat, which is really giving them a taste of and helping them understand that it's actually the energy that is keeping them from knowing what to do, that is keeping them from trusting what they already want, right? So you could give them an experience of it, or you can go where people who already get it hang out. And I do both of these things, right? So go on retreat, go to places where people who believe in transformation are gathering because then you already know that they've experienced it and they've probably spent money on it, right? So that's the other hot tip. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my class and the highlights. But first, I want to just share with you this model I've been working from, which is called the Retreat Alchemy model for expanding magic. And so I want you to picture a circle, and in the center of the circle is your signature shift. Okay, and so in our class, we go through this process of helping people talk about and brand and understand the nature of the energy shift that they deliver. Okay, so that's the central focus here. So this episode is called Selling the Shift. It presumes you know the shift that you offer. Okay, if you don't and you want to get into Retreat Alchemy, whenever I have a new cohort, just PM me. I don't have it right now. But that's the central focus. And then around the outside is like a cycle with 4 S's: soul, structure, sales, and skills. Soul, structure, sales, and skills. And the soul is like what it could be anything, but it's how you know that you know that you know from a divine knowing that you're meant to lead this retreat or offer this program or whatever it is. Okay, in my world, it's retreat. So that's personal to everyone, and I don't think you should go down the path of hosting retreat if you're not connected to the soul of the retreat, if it hasn't spoken to you in some way and said, this is for you. And it could be about money, it could be about the transformation for the clients, it could be you want to go to a location and take people. Like, the soul can show up in a lot of different ways. Then there's the structure. And there's 2 key structures. One is your retreat structure. And again, this is how I design an experience, is going to virtually guarantee, there is no guarantee, but virtually guarantee that every person is going to have a shift, because there's really a strategic way to design a retreat that helps someone become aware of what's in their shadows and transmute it. I'm not going to say more than that here, but that's one structure. And the second structure is the structure of your business model. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because the structure of your business model, if you're in the world of transformation and selling the shift, should match how transformation works. Okay? If you're not in that business, totally fine. But if you are, you want it to match how transformation works for your clients. And so there are 3 stages of the anatomy of a transformation. Your retreat happens in stage 2. Well, guess what? To sell people into your retreat, to get them to say yes to coming to shift their energy field with you, the first stage is commitment. And we want people to be committed to their own transformation, which means they understand that shifting their energy will change their result. And it means that they have a desire or a discomfort that's greater than their fear of seeing what's in the shadow. Okay? Like, they're willing to go there because they want this change so much. So that's the second structure. And then we go to sales, and guess what? Sales is all about that commitment stage, right? That first piece of the anatomy of a transformation. Sales are nothing more than helping someone cultivating their commitment for their own transformation. And there's a great book that one of my mentors turned me on to called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto. And in it, they say, a guy named Blair Enns, he says, the job of a sales conversation is to help the prospect form the intent to solve their problem. Form the intent to solve their problem. So if we just think about that, sales is helping someone get committed to shifting their energy field. And these are the series of 2 classes I just taught. I taught today about the process. I have an acronym that I use to teach people the process to help someone discover their own commitment or lack thereof, which is also valid, to shifting their energy and solving their problem. the other one is about the structure before your retreat for all of the opportunities you give people to have an experience and help them decide if they want to transform. So if you're hosting a retreat 6 months from now, you aren't simply posting about your retreat for 6 months. You're having different conversations where you're inviting people in to discover if they want to shift with you. And there's like a 3-part structure for if you had a retreat 6 months out, there would be 3 campaigns within that time frame, and each one is a little bit different. So I won't go in detail into that, but it's a skill to sell transformation, and people will buy it, and you need this balance of structure and magic, right? You need to give them enough structure that they feel safe to access the magic. You also need to give them enough magic that they know, ooh, there's something that's going to happen here that's beyond what my logical mind can predict, right? Because that's transformation, and that's what people are buying into. They're buying into the belief that I can quantum leap something, that I can actually find an elegant solution to my problem that doesn't involve putting in all of the hours and years and figuring out and getting 6 more degrees in order to prove that I can have the thing, right? Sometimes that's correct. Sometimes we need to put in the hours and do the things and It's not always correct to skip that. And often, we are putting the barrier in front of us because we're actually terrified of being the person who has the thing. And that's the transformational work that happens on retreat. And when you explain that to someone, explain it, when you help them have a little taste of an experience of that idea, they know in their core if that's true for them. They know, like genuinely, their magic knows, do I actually need to take the baby steps and work my way up, or do I need to shift my energy? Do I need to actually work harder because that's sourced, that's aligned, or do I need to believe something different? And so that's what happens in the sales process, right? We have either commitment stage marketing or a commitment stage offer, which the difference is marketing is free, the offer is paid, but it's the same idea, the same general flow of a conversation you would have with someone, but the structure is slightly different, right? Whether it's a virtual mini retreat that happens in 2 hours, or it's a 5-week coaching program that actually helps them decide they want to come retreat with you and get in the room and have a shift. So, and then the last S is skill. And one of the things I've come to believe is that most of my clients come to me with a lot of skill already. In fact, I think all of my clients come to me with a lot of skill already. And so that's why skill is last. So we move through this process, we sell the shift, we get people in the room, and we discover, hey, if I have a skill gap, maybe I go take a training, right? Like, oh, I really wish I had known a somatic exercise I could have used here. Oh, maybe I need a little training on that. But we do that last because most likely you're coming in with more skill than you know from this life and from past lives. And your ability to facilitate transformation is strong, right? But guess what? We never get to do it if we don't learn how to sell it. And the same skills of facilitating a retreat are used in the sales process. It's just that people think it's different, and they think that someone should just know that they want to go on retreat. And most people aren't walking around thinking about that. Sometimes we are. I know I do sometimes. Like, oh, I'd really love a retreat about blah, blah, blah. But usually that's not happening. And so we want to invite people into this opportunity to explore their commitment to their own transformation. And that's the thing you want to get really good at, to be really good as a retreat leader. And guess what? Those skills transfer. So that's my conversation for today about selling the shift. gosh, I'm really into just message me on Instagram if this resonates. Let me know what's jumping out at you. Let me know if you want to know more about this topic. I'm kind of keeping it short and sweet based on what's alive for me right now. And there's so much more, right? Let me know if you would be interested. I'm actually considering having a retreat called Selling the Shift. That's really all about becoming this person. Let me know if that speaks to you as well. Just PM me on Instagram. All right, this is Darla Ledoux, your host for Activating Magic, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.